On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
First of all, if you're not selling a product that you don't 100% believe in and you don't 100% think kicks ass, then find a different job. There's 1,000,001 sales jobs out there. But if you believe all those things and you do those first couple critical steps to control the emotions, right, and control yours, because I don't know about you, now it's more, my clients are different now, they're business owners. But even getting on to this podcast right now, like I get a little butterflies. Before I talk to a business owner, I get butterflies. Before I go on to business meetings with people that I've known for years, I get little butterflies. I just do. You know, you're going to have butterflies when you sit down with a family, but if you're feeling rigid throughout, they're going to feel rigid throughout, and you're not going to close. It doesn't matter what you say, because Tom Hopkins talks about it. Sales are based on emotion.
You are listening to Gathering the Kings with Chaz Wolfe, featuring fellow 7, 8, and even 9-figure business owners who have real battle scars from business and life, but have prevailed as the king that they are designed to be. We welcome high-performing entrepreneurs to the stage in order to reveal the real of the real on what it takes to build a successful business today. We dissect the good and bad decisions they've made along the way that give a true and accurate picture of the journey of success and how you too can get there. Through this dialogue, you will learn the value of growing your network and surrounding yourself with power players and kings like today's guest. Grab your pen and notebook because we're about to dive in. What's up, everybody? I'm Chaz Wolfe, Gathering the Kings podcast. I'm your host. Today, I've got Cody Booth on the King stage. My brother, Cody, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Doing wonderful. We just, I think, spent the last 12 minutes laughing, almost the entire 12 minutes. At least I was. I don't know if you were, because you kind of got that dry humor going on over there.
I enjoy it. Some people don't always pick up on it. They're like, is this guy fully serious?
Oh, yeah. And that's partly what dry humor folks want. They want you to kind of wonder, like, is he serious? Should I laugh right now? Yeah.
Guessing.
It's the way it works. One of my best buds is just like that. And so I have almost 3 decades. We've known each other almost our whole lives. So I know your kind. No. Anyway, Cody, what kind of business do you have, brother?
So I'm in the solar sales business. I've been there for 8 years now. I started off in door-to-door, got into the call center side of it, done, online marketing, doing some consulting now for some, mostly for friends. I like working with people that I like. It's really hard for me to work with people that I don't like, because I'll tell them and they don't, and they don't like that. To me, there's enough good people in the world.
Yeah.
That, you can live and work a pretty awesome lifestyle and only work with people that align with, I don't have everything in common with everyone that I work with. That would be an awful echo chamber.
Sure. Literally.
But, everybody that I work with is by choice.
Yes.
It's been fun to do some consulting and help other people build their call centers, and basically just, it's all in the solar sales space, but it could be used for any, if solar goes away tomorrow, I'm not worried.
Right. Yeah. The principles that you're building, and then even teaching others how to build inside their businesses, are ones that have been around for decades as well as will be.
Yeah. So it's applicable to any industry, but solar's fun. Right now it's like the Wild West. It's not regulated, which for an entrepreneur, I mean, it's home. It's home. And, there's some good and bad with that. It leaves, there's a lot of fool's gold, I think, in our industry right now. There's a lot of people that are making money that, when some things change, but
yeah,
who knows? Maybe it's fool's gold for me. I don't know, but I'm having fun.
Yeah.
I like to think it's intentional.
Yeah.
And it's, there's nothing like it right now. It's not really, we're affected by, inflation and stuff like that, but inflation's also our friend, because as inflation happens, power bills go up. I just read an article yesterday that Eversource, the power provider in Connecticut, for example, January 1st, they're raising their rates 40%. So,
our cost of money, you know, for financing goes up, you know, 1 or 2 percentage points.
Yeah.
Well, their bill just went up 40%.
Yeah. And even more of an impact, a reason to get a solar system. I've got my system. I'm in Kansas City, so I'm not in the same area, but we've got actually a guy that's in my mastermind group who is installing it here come, I don't know, probably January, I guess. But the reality is still the same, is that you're right. Even as inflation goes up, your product is still very, very, very appetizing, attractive, whatever you want to say, because it's actually helping people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, inflation goes up, but you know, cost of money goes up, but so does our power bill. So
Yeah. And if you can wash it out, I mean, I think that there's obviously people out there that aren't going to make a move because it's new. And it's like, then, you're always going to have the slow adopters. And I
Yeah.
would say the Wild West really indicates, in that early bell curve, first adopters, maybe into that second wave, but there's so much more to be done. That's why it's the Wild West, because there's not a lot of people have gotten it. Even though millions have, it's still, there's just so much opportunity, and it's open.
So much. I mean, even California is the biggest adopter, right? And they're still at, I think, 8% market penetration.
Right.
And people are like, oh, California is saturated. As a country, for viable roofs, we're at less than 1%. So it's
a lot of blue sky there. That's for sure.
It's a good time.
I want to know, Cody, if you could describe a reason, some people call it the why, but what's the reason that you're doing this? You're pushing. You kind of off air, we talked about your family a little bit. We talked about maybe a little bit about your past, and we'll get into some of that here in a little bit. But before we do that, what motivates you? What pushes you? You've obviously been successful already. Why continue past this point even?
I like to have fun. I like to have a good time. And I've got kids now. I've got 4 kids we talked about. And that's a good why, right? But there's lots of people with kids who don't really do much with life. I'm sorry. There's deadbeat parents. So there's parents, and there's lots of people that are just okay with status quo.
Right.
That's never been me in any aspect of life. So I want to do the fun stuff. I want to give them cool experiences. If your belief is that, you get one lifetime on this planet, which I'm not going to debate that with anyone. You can tell me you get 10, you can tell me you get 1, you can tell me it's a simulation. I don't care. Right. I want to have fun. I want to have a good time today. I want to make memories today. And, people say money doesn't buy happiness. Well, it buys experiences, and experiences are pretty cool. And so for me, what keeps me going is I want to go on the next adventure. Like I want to go. One of the cool things we got to do last year is we got to spend the month of July with kids in Hawaii, bouncing around to different islands and stuff, and just playing in the ocean. Just, I worked from there.
Yeah.
The cool thing about Hawaii is that it's workday starts way, way early in the morning over there because the times have changed. So I could be done by 10, 11 a.m. and then we've got the rest of the day. And so for me, it's I have this insatiable appetite for adventure and fun and experiences. And some would call it, maybe it's slightly, addictive behavior, but, I want my kids to have just an awesome life, and I want to experience awesome things with my friends. And that's why I like working with my friends, because if you don't have friends that can afford to do the stuff that you want to do and go on those adventures, it's not that fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, what you do is you create a silo.
Yeah.
You have friends, but you can't actually do anything with them. And so it creates a separation for sure. Cody, it sounds like you are kind of like a Peter Pan. You never want to grow up.
No, never. You're not the first person to say it.
We'll call him Cody Pan.
Yeah. But no, here's the thing. It's why, what is growing up?
Right.
Why be an entrepreneur if you have to grow up?
Yeah. What would you say to the guy? And I'm probably referring to a 22, 23-year-old Chaz, right? Because at 35, I totally understand what you're talking about. I've had opportunities now to slow down enough, at least mentally, to enjoy moments with the kids, create experiences. But what would you say for the guy listening today who maybe was like me 15 years ago, who was just super serious? We're going to be disciplined, and we're going to delay all gratification, and we're not going to have any fun until we get there. What would you say to that guy? Because he's kind of struggling right now. He's in his business. He's here listening. He's hearing a guy like you talking about, I just want to have fun all day. He's like, oh, it must be nice. What would you say to that guy?
who would say he might not be wrong. I don't know. See, everybody's path is different.
Yeah.
And for me, so I've tried that, right? I'm going to wake up at 5:00 in the morning. I'm going to go to the gym by 5:15. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And it drove me absolutely nuts. Right.
Yeah.
And then I've got guys that I work with who are, we're kind of here together, and they have to do that.
Right.
Or else the world crumbles.
Right.
So I would say to that guy is find out if that's really what you need. Take the time to decompress, meditate if that's your thing, pray if that's your thing, go on a freaking ayahuasca trip. With a shaman and really take the time, whatever floats your boat,
Yeah.
But take that time to really ask yourself, like, are you trying to fit into a mold that you've heard influencers talk about? Or is this really what drives you that's going to get you to where you want to be? And I'd also say, ask yourself, where do you want to be? Because a lot of guys that I talk to, especially younger guys, yesterday I hopped on with one of our recruiters. I just wanted to hop on one of he was interviewing a new guy for a sales position. I'm like, I'm going to hop in and see what motivates this guy. And he's like, talking about, so I asked him, what are your goals? And, I want to make money, no kidding. Right. What are you going to do with it?
You're applying for a sales position.
Yeah. What are you going to do with it? Why do you want it? Like, is there any reason? Like,
yeah.
Well, I just want financial freedom. Freedom from what? Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
So, like I said, yeah, for that guy, I would say, stop for a little bit, figure out what your goals are, really figure out if that's how you're going to achieve them. Or like I said, if you're just trying to fit, because for me, when I stopped and asked myself, like, what am I doing? I remember going and trying to close deals based on how other people did when I was still a sales rep.
Yeah.
It didn't work. What worked for me is going into the house and saying, oh, the Dodger game's on. Sure. Let's watch the Dodger game when we go over this, or let's have, just turns out I'm not a structure-based guy when it comes to anything, I'm a reporter guy. And when I'm just myself, my closing percentage is second to none. Yeah. When I try and fit into a personality that I'm not, it's terrible. So, once I stopped, because I was like that a little bit too, in my mid-20s, it took me a little bit longer to get there. I like to party a little, but when I was there in my mid-20s, and I'm like, I'm going to be regimented. The second I said, hey, I'm going to get here's some key things I'm going to get done in the day. I'm going to eat balanced. I'm going to get to the gym at some point today. I'm going to talk to my mom today, and I'm going to tell her I love her at some point today.
Yeah.
At some point today, I'm going to spend time with my kids. I'm going to check all these things off at some point today.
Yeah.
My life got infinitely better. My earnings went up.
Yeah.
My mind expanded, and I was able to be creative.
Yeah. You're given a really, really, really applicable framework. I want to compare it to one quick thing here, and then I want your opinion. So I trained sales, built sales teams. I've probably worked with thousands of salespeople at this time. And so my pullout that I'm hearing you say that I've also taught, and I want to hear what you do in your call centers and even maybe in the solar industry, but there's a general framework for the sales process. And to your point, you can be as regimented, scripted, like you can be as robotic as you can be, or you can be completely like, I have no idea what I'm about to do, and I'm just going to show up. Neither are really the best, right? But somewhere in the middle, you have a framework that you're following, but you're you. You can be confident to be you. But inside of this, I'm following a general framework. I need to obviously open it up, set it with a good agenda. I need to do a discovery, build trust and rapport. I need to figure out what the pain is. I need to do a presentation that's applicable, simple, easy to understand, and I need to close. So as long as I do those four things, and in that order, I can kind of be whoever I need to be, personality-wise or strength-wise. And it doesn't have to necessarily be super exact. Like you don't need to say exactly what I do, so forth and so on, to your point. So I've taught this for years and years and years and years and years. And so you have this industry of sales that's like, look, here's your script. Yeah, read it right here, and what that produces on the other side of what you're talking about is someone like you who typically does well in sales, this kind of don't put me in a box type of a person who doesn't like the script to begin with, but now you're forcing me to do something. So I don't like you to force me to do anything. And then number two, I got to do in the box, which I don't really like to do anyway. And so what it produces is robotic, disingenuine, like salespeople who don't care.
Yeah.
And so that's what we've known for sales for the last 30 years is just someone reading a script who doesn't care. What would you say to all that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say, so it's funny because when I put together, material for new closers, right? When I bring guys into the solar world for a closing position, if they've got solar experience, I don't call them because they're going to tell me they know better than me.
Yep.
And it's not that I can't learn something from them, but I've built a system that does, 8 figures in sales a year. You're looking for a job.
Right.
Try what I'm doing. And if it's not working,
right.
And they're looking for a job for a reason, and if you're in solar, you should be making money. But no, I agree with what you're saying 100%. When I give them material, I don't call it a script. I have a closing flow. And what it starts with is it explains the psychology of what happens, right? Because a lot of guys can read a script, they can know what to say, they can perform tie downs and alternate bands and and they can do all that, but they don't know why it works. So what I give them is it's like 3 pages. And it's called the closing flow, and it explains the psychology. It starts with when you go to the house, don't get porched. And getting porched means somebody comes outside and they pull up a chair on the front porch and say, "Go ahead and take a seat right here. I'll get my wife. You want a water?" Because the second that happens, you lose control. And
he set the frame.
He set the frame. And Mike O'Donnell, who I look up to a lot in the solar world. I don't know him. I met him once, twice, but I follow him. And he was talking the other day about, when you're going in to close somebody, you're the expert, you're the authority. So if you don't set that tone from the beginning, then you can't close.
Okay.
And so I agree with what you're saying 100%. You have to, there's certain things you have to do. You have to be in control. You can't knock on the door and say, "Hey, do you want to sit outside? You want to sit inside? You want to sit on your front lawn? Wherever you want to sit."
Right.
Like you can't do that because that's wrong. That's not how you control the sale.
Yeah,
so
it's not how you lead.
No. And then, then from there, I call it setting the table. And setting the table is, it's not, it's literally, actually getting to the kitchen table, right? Because sitting on a couch is not beneficial because, again, you're not in control. You're not in a power position.
Right.
So I set out this framework of how to stay basically in the power position. But what you do in between that is going to be up to your personality, and there's I put key points in there. I give them third party, but you need to be able, there needs to be room for you to breathe.
Yeah.
And so,
because otherwise, like you said, you're suffocated and it actually throws you off any sort of level of confidence that you have in who you are. And it just is not natural. I appreciate just the flow there. I think that, whether the listener is in solar sales or not, that doesn't matter. If they were paying attention, you gave them a psychology, a framework that they can follow even as an entrepreneur, selling decks or selling marketing, services or whatever it is. The framework is still the same, is that you have to have control. You have to set the tone and you've got to walk through some basic stuff and then you got to be you. Like,
that's because if you do that and you got a dope product and you really believe in it, once you get to that point of time to sell, you're going to be relaxed and it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
Like if you're working, like, first of all, if you're not selling a product that you don't 100% believe in and you don't 100% think like kicks ass, then find a different job. There's 1,000,001 sales jobs out there. But if you believe all those things and you do those first couple critical steps to control the emotions, right? And control yours, because I don't know about you, but now it's more, my clients are different now. They're business owners, but even getting on to this podcast right now, like I get a little butterflies, before I talk to a business owner, I get butterflies. Before I go on to business meetings with people that I've known for years, I get little butterflies. I just do. So, you're going to have butterflies when you sit down with a family, but if you're feeling rigid throughout, they're going to feel rigid throughout and you're not going to close. It doesn't matter what you say. because Tom Hopkins talks about it. Sales are based on emotion.
Yeah. Buy on emotion, justify on logic. That's after you've won them over. That's when you whip in, hey, I can save you on your bill, or I can whatever the logic is.
Yeah.
Hey, Kings and Queens, Chaz Wolfe. I want to talk to you about something that's super important to me. We put a lot of time and effort, we meaning myself and my team, into this podcast, into the content that goes out every single day. And if you have been getting any sort of value or insight from this, we want it to be able to reach other business owners too. So we would love if you would like, comment, share, leave a review, post, share again, all of the things on social media, on all the different platforms, or even on the podcast mediums of Apple and Spotify. We would love to be able to get our content into more hands, more entrepreneurs, so they can grow their business as quick as possible. Together, we are building a community of like-minded entrepreneurs who are committed to growing their businesses to new heights. So let's do this. Let's help each other. Let's help each other grow.
Good stuff. Okay, inside of your business, I've got to know a good decision that you've made. Something practical that you can look back. Maybe it was in the first year. Clear, concise, good decision that you made that we can duplicate in our own businesses.
So for me, there was. You want me to whittle it down to one? There's two critical ones.
That's fine.
There's two critical ones. One was to the day I decided that I'm not going to close any more deals anymore on a B2C level.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to close customers anymore. That was huge for me because that was the day that I decided that I'm not going to be a sales rep anymore working for my business. Right. And I'm going to actually try and be a business owner. And so that was huge for me. And a guy I looked up to a lot told me, hey, when you make that decision that first year, you're probably going to make less money.
Oh yeah. A lot less probably.
And I'm like, no way. Then when I was selling door to door, made way less money that first year. Second year, tripled my income. So that was a big one. And then another big one for me was about almost 2 years ago now, went all in on learning, perfecting our call center approach, and basically made a lot of mistakes and took, for the most part, my life savings at that point and dumped it into trial and error. What works, what doesn't work, and going big with the idea of I can always build back up. I still had my door-to-door stuff. It was running itself. So I had income, but it was like, I want to go big and go all in and bet on this and see how big it can go.
Yeah.
In Monday, we'll be opening up, Massachusetts and Connecticut. We're all over California. We're in Texas. Going to be within the next 2 months, we'll be in Utah, Arizona, Orlando. So that was scary. Because it got out there, you start seeing, and you're working 16-hour days. My business partner at the time, luckily I had a really nice home office. I was living in Southern California at the time, and we had a whole wing of the house as an office. And I called him. He was living in Vegas. I'm like, dude, move out, stay with me for a couple months. Let's get this dialed in. And he literally just moved in for like 2-3 months, and we just worked 16-hour days. My kids are in the house, but I'm not really seeing them much. We're like, we're going to figure this out because this could be huge.
Yeah.
And it was scary for a little bit, but so I guess in a nutshell, figure out what you want to do and either go all in or don't do it at all.
Yeah. That's what I was picking up as you were saying. And both examples are you betting on you, going all in. The second one, obviously, scarier just because in the first decision, you can always go back to be the sales guy.
Yeah.
It's not that scary of a choice, although it's a big decision especially when you're as good as you are in that role. It's so hard to give that up because you're probably better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you did. And so then that gave you the freedom of attention, the freedom of time to then go actually, like you said, be a business owner. And then the second one, way more scary because it's an investment, a huge investment of time and money. It's like, will this thing even work?
Yeah. And so that was but it's paid off now, and it's opened my mind to a whole new world of people, and my whole network has expanded, and it's been really cool.
Yeah,
Been
that's
fun.
all. Let's flip the script. Cody, tell me about a bad decision that you made that we can learn from.
Bad decision. So when I first got into, hey, I'm going to stop being a sales rep for somebody else's solar company, and
Right.
I'm going to launch my own, right? In the solar world, they call this red line hunting. And
Okay.
what that means is you have a bottom line essentially that you operate off of when you run a solar business. And the installer keeps everything below that. As a sales rep, you keep it, or as a sales
There's a
company, you
split.
keep it. Yeah. I made the mistake of, I'm going to find, and a lot of guys do this. I'm going to find the lowest red line. I'm going to use 3 different companies, because I'm going to use this company for loans. I'm going to use this company for this. And so the mistake that I made in the beginning was not just finding one solid partner and sticking with them.
A vendor partner.
Yeah. And I thought that I needed to have 4 or 5 different partners and to handle our installs. And I thought that I needed to find the lowest. And what I found is the cheapest is never the cheapest.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've had the same partner for 5 years.
Wow.
And close to 5 years, at least 4. And it's been incredible. I mean, they've become like, they're based out of San Francisco. They just announced they're merging with Solaria, who's a panel manufacturing company. They're called Complete Solar, and they're merging with Solaria, and they're going to be going public here. And so it's been really fun because to me, they're like still, I don't know, like a small company, but now they're like doing all this awesome big stuff.
Yeah.
But their chief revenue officer will be out. I'm in South Carolina. He'll be out here next week to visit, and we'll go have cigars and hang out. And it's like, it's really cool to have those relationships in my experience, when you hop around from company to company and things like that, you
Just work, man.
It's just work, and you don't get to form any real relationships. You can go and have laughs, you can go out for steak dinners in Las Vegas and and have, this like surface level, like frothy, emotional, good feelings. Right.
Yeah.
But like, there's guys that, because we've stuck with the same, like, there's some guys there that know my kids, they know my family.
That's right.
We're not, there's nothing holding us together. There's nothing that says I have to work with them. There's nothing that says they have to work with me. We could walk away and never send them another deal tomorrow. They could call me right now and say, we don't want any more of your accounts. And so to me, that's like a real, that's a real relationship,
Yeah. It's so good, because a lot of what you're talking about, we this warrior to king transition is mindset. It's all mindset. Of course, it shows in revenue and what your team looks like and how you delegate and all the practical things that you do in the business. But this mindset of relationship is 100%. We talk about the 3 leverage points inside our mastermind group. It's leveraging time, leveraging resources, and key relationships. This key relationship piece that you're talking about literally is the game changer. And at the 6-figure or even early 7s, you're just in the warrior mode. You're just in the grind. You're just doing the thing. And so you just never look up long enough to realize that, like, if I just paid attention to that guy, or if I, in this case, just kept doing the same deal over and over with this one guy and just created a real vendor partnership with him, it's not, switch over to this guy and then over here, better deal. And that's warrior mode. King mode is simplicity, relationship, longevity, like actually building something together where you choose to do business together because it's a benefit mutually. And you just never get there if at least one of the parties has the other mindset, which is short-sighted. It's about today. It's about survival, really. And there's a point in the business, you talked about it a little bit earlier, where you kind of have to be like that. You kind of got to worry about, like, can I eat today?
Yeah.
But the transition must occur, which is what you're talking about. You have to start seeing things in relationship and leverage, not just necessarily cutting the pennies or like you said, lowering the red line. Would you add anything? I know we've kind of hit this from a couple different angles here, but it's just such a great topic. And I thought it was something that maybe I knew earlier. I just didn't know it well enough earlier. Relationships have always been, I knew were important, but man, even in the last couple of years, that's why I started the podcast.
Yeah.
Done 200 episodes this year.
It's awesome.
Because you just meet people and you just don't
Yeah.
know. You just don't know. So anyway, what would you say?
So, I would say one of the coolest like parts of the relationship that I would say that we have in how I know it's based on mutual respect is when we mess up, we take ownership for it. And if they mess up and I catch it before them, I say, "Hey, this isn't right." They'll say, "They don't try and we don't try and fight each other.
Nope.
It's
Yep.
You're
Done.
right. Let's make it right. What can we do? Let's hop on a strategy call to make it right." And there's not a lot of that that I've seen in the industry that I'm in. And I've talked to other people in roofing industries, in alarm industries, all sorts of different, everybody wants to point the finger. And, one of the things I'm reading, I just started a book called Multi-Unit Leadership. And it's more geared towards people who are managing multiple locations, stuff like that. But it's applicable to business owners who are running in multiple markets too. And it talks about extreme ownership, and talks about if you're gonna, cheer on your successes, if your business fails, it's 100% your fault.
Yeah.
So
Can't have one without the other.
Whether you're at fault or whether you're not, as a business owner, you're at fault. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So relationships are, and I've had some, there's been some crappy times where people burn you for money in an unregulated, industry that's not regulated. But through those trials and, and errors and getting screwed over by people, I've actually met some of my best friends.
Yeah.
So
Because the good eggs always, come together, right? The ones that are, choosing the right thing, not screwing people over, eventually you find each other.
Yeah.
And then that's powerful.
Yeah. And so there's been, it's been good because even there was a situation a couple of years ago where we were helping out a company build out their sales program, and they just burned us for like a ton of money, like a ton. And it sucked. And they did it. I was naive at the time, and they structured it in a way where I couldn't really do anything about it. But actually I met the gentleman that I think he was on this podcast. Bennett Maxwell was on this podcast too, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's how I met Bennett. And basically we were both involved in it, and a deal that went bad, and we ended up becoming friends. And then we did a trip on a private jet together, and then joined a mastermind together. And so, it's been cool to watch him grow with his dirty dough and stuff like that. But it's like, you never know, as long as you keep being true to yourself and just be honest. Like,
yeah,
sometimes I'm brutally honest, and sometimes people don't like that. And that's okay, because those people aren't going to be in my sphere.
Yeah.
They're not going to be a part of my network. But it's kind of like you said, as long as you're true to yourself and you're focused on being real and building real relationships,
yeah,
they happen.
Yeah, they do. It's the encouragement to the listener because they're busy right now. Like we talked about earlier, they're in the warrior mode. They're busy, wearing a lot of hats. They can't come up to breathe. They're the 16-hour days. They're not seeing their kids, all the things that you and I have both been through as well. And the encouragement is, look, keep doing the thing, but also, pick your head up a couple of times, pay attention to those relationships, pour into some of those areas that doesn't seem like maybe there's an ROI today. And usually those are the places that are the biggest long-term good decisions.
Yeah.
Cody, I'm going to transition to our speed round. My first question in the speed round is regarding KPIs. So in your solar call center, all this stuff we've been talking about, what's the most important KPI? What would you track forever and ever if you could just pick the one thing?
Just pick one?
Just pick one, my man.
I mean, the obvious one to me is how many deals did we close this month? Another one I like to track is, I have a number in mind that I want all my closers to make.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I know that we're successful based on that number.
Totally.
So if I could track just one, it would be the average monthly commission for each closer.
Yeah. No, that's huge. It's huge in the sales world specifically, but even as a business owner, maybe they don't have a bunch of salespeople like you do. I've always just taken whatever industry. It's obviously got to be industry and even position specific, but it's like, look, if I can pour in and they make more, that means the company's doing good.
Yeah.
Like, take care of them.
Yeah. Yeah. If my,
Obviously that's different for every industry and even positions. Like I've got, eventually you're going to outgrow a position. You got to move to another one if you want to make more money, but it's still the same principle of relationships. You mentioned one book earlier, but what would you recommend to a 6-figure business owner? It could be the same book, but what book would you recommend?
so I always end up talking about this book. And so I cheated a little bit. I thought about this. I thought about my answer, and, a lot of guys, we've read, How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Yeah, great book.
read how to Master the Art of Selling. So assuming that you've read those books, I would say kind of in line with what we've been talking about with, hey, pick your head up and breathe. There's a really cool book by a Buddhist monk called The Miracle of Mindfulness that I've read probably 50 times.
Interesting.
And I get something new out of it every time. It's by, I don't know how to say his name. I think it's Thich Nhat Hanh. He just died recently at I don't know, 357 years old or something. He was really freaking old, but I think it was like 98. He just died like last year. But basically it's little exercises to help you stay in the moment, right? And just change your mindset of, and it talks about things like, there's a little story in there about, he was talking to his friend who's a parent. And he's like, I just don't have time for myself. Kids get home from school and I get dinner ready and I do their homework and then this and blah, blah, blah. And it's all about taking your mindset back. And like, instead of that mindset of I have to help my kid with my homework, it's like, tell yourself, because the mind is super powerful. Like, wow, what a beautiful, like what an amazing miracle this is. Like we're a human being on planet Earth right now. We need oxygen to live. I have this human that is my son. That's a miracle. That
came from me.
That came from me. That's healthy, that's happy, that loves to spend time with me. And I get to help him. I get to help him learn and expand his mind. And it's all about changing that mindset of I have to I get to. And I think, and it's so, in some ways it's so like cliche and corny, but like if we don't think about it as entrepreneurs, everything we do throughout the day of to hop on this meeting with this guy that I don't like. Cause guess what? We work with, sometimes you don't want to talk to every kind of personality out, as a business owner, you're a psychologist, you're a therapist, and you can't always, and you take on a lot of different people's energy, throughout the day. So it's important to remember that like what a cool spot to be in. Like, dude, we're chopping it up on a podcast right now. And then I'm going to hang out at my house and I'm going to run a sales meeting. A couple of my guys are going to close some deals today. My kids are going to run home from school and burst through those doors behind me and give me a big hug. And like, what a blessing it is that I get to work from home, and I get to work from anywhere I want. So I think that is a book that most salespeople, and the reason I bring that one up is most sales guys, most entrepreneurs aren't going to grab a book like that because they're going to be like, why am I going to take that? I need some like beat my chest stuff, which we do plenty of that. We do like, we love that stuff. I love that stuff. Don't get me wrong. Like, I watch UFC every Saturday night, like love it. But sometimes we need to slow it down. And I think that would be, I read that book a lot, especially early on. And it would just, and it's not a book that you necessarily have to read from front to back. Just open it up, pick a little 2-page example.
Yeah, exactly. Love the perspective. What do you think about, you mentioned earlier, you and Bennett joining a mastermind group. What do you think about intentionally networking with business owners and or mastermind groups?
So initially, before, talking about contempt prior to investigation, I thought it was stupid. I thought, if you were in a mastermind, Chaz, I thought you were dumb because you were paying for friends and they don't actually like you.
Yeah. That's real. That's real.
Yeah. Yes. And the people that were on social media posting about their wins and they were talking about all the cool stuff they're doing. Well, they were just D-bags because I was doing cool stuff too, but I didn't have to tell everybody about it. Right. That's what I thought.
Yeah. It's real.
I pay
the same feelings.
I pay so much money to go to masterminds now, and it's the best decision I've ever made. Yeah. Like, what an idiot. What an idiot I was. Because those people are real. Like, those wins are real. Depending on which mastermind you're in,
Sure.
Those wins are real. They have families. They genuinely care. And what I realized is it's not about, I'm flying on a private jet to, I'm in a mastermind where, dude, most of these people don't have a college education. Probably more of them have arrest records than they do college degrees.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, and I grew up in a town where there's not a lot of people. I grew up in a small, post-industrial wasteland in upstate New York. There's not a lot going on. There was no examples. There was no people who were hustlers, as far as entrepreneurs. I mean, there was drug dealers, but that's about it. And so it's not about being braggadocious. It's about, hey, like it's possible. And we live in a world now where if I lived 30 years ago, with my background, with my lack of college education, I'd been relegated to a factory worker.
Yep.
So it's about letting people know that, hey, it exists. It's real. Like, and it's possible. And so for me, it's been, and the ROI unintentionally has been, can't measure.
Yeah.
I think it's vital, whether it's getting in at a ground level mastermind that, you can only afford the basics of. Do something. I wish I did it sooner, because probably wouldn't have had a struggle as long as I did, because I had stupid beliefs that were based in my own insecurities.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And that's at all levels. You address it even at your level, and you address it even, for the guy that's listening, because you're right. It took me too long to figure that out as well. There's so much more than that comes from we have a direct response mindset, right? Like that's how we get leads, right?
Yeah.
That's how we grow a business.
Of course.
$1 in, I get 4 leads out, or whatever the exchange is. And it just doesn't work that way with relationships. It does, but it just looks different. Yeah. And so you got to give it the opportunity to be able to take its course, because I feel the same way that you do. Last question here for you, Cody. We got to wrap this up. I want to know, you could whisper in the younger Cody's ear, what would you say?
Say, damn, you look good. No, I would say, don't take yourself too seriously and get out of your comfort zone, and it goes back to what we were just talking about. I wanted, how to be the chill, cool guy, like, meet people that are different than you, take those chances, and what I've learned the older I got is, if I think something is stupid or corny or hokey, I should probably do it. Because you can't grow without being uncomfortable.
That's right.
So
yeah, and that's your mechanism to push off what's uncomfortable. Is it's stupid, it's corny, it's whatever. Super good, man. You've been incredible. How can the listener connect with you? Maybe they want to get involved somehow. Maybe they're a solar business and they want to connect, or they're just an entrepreneur. They want to pick your brain. How can they find you?
Best way, I use all the social media stuff, but the best way is on Instagram, because I live on Instagram. And so my @ is Cody, CODY _ Booth, BOOTH _ 315.
315. There you go.
Syracuse, New York, baby.
There he is. You'll
Go
find him.
Orange. Yeah, there you go.
Well, you've been, again, just incredible from a business perspective. We didn't even get into the family, dude, but I appreciated our little talk about kids and stuff before we hit the record button. You've been incredible. Thank you again for your time. Blessings on your family and your businesses, your expansion, next couple of states that you're taking over here in the next couple of months. Just, we wish you nothing but success. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I had fun. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Gathering the Kings today. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself. What I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.